What is up, mi gente? It's Anthony Rosa, the community finance coach, aka Mr. Remedy, and you are watching another show on the Roundtable Remedies. And I'm super excited today. I have my friend, Surrogate Judge Casanova. Welcome, Surrogate Judge. Thank you so much for coming on the Roundtable. Please introduce yourself and let us know who you are.
Thank you, Anthony, for inviting me into the roundtable. I am excited to participate and share who I am and what I'm doing. I am the surrogate judge of Passaic County, Soyla Casanova, and as well as the principal owner of Success 369. And I want to share what the surrogate court does and the importance of the role, because we are the judges that help people pass on their generational wealth. And I've spearheaded all these different innovative things for the County of Passaic, such as the free will events. And I'm hoping to empower people with information about how to draft your own guardianship application in court, how the importance of having a will and the important documents so that we can stop that generational wealth gap in our communities and empower ourselves. As a financial person, you know the importance of getting our finances in order, and you've done a great job in making sure that we all learn how to take care of our finances. Now we need to move one step forward to make sure we know how to pass that generational wealth. And as surrogate judge, I've been working really hard in Passaic County, close to 3,000 free wills for the residents of our county, our seniors, our veterans, and first responders. So I'm really excited to have this opportunity to share further.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And what an accomplishment. I think that here on the Roundtable Remedies, I created this back in 2020 to inspire, connect, and educate from real people, real stories. And today we're talking about shifting the paradigm. And it's going to be a cutting conversation, right? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I'm so thankful to have you on, Surrogate Judge. So please tell us a little bit more about what you're doing in Passaic County, more so standing in the gap.
So one of the first things, I started the initiative of making wills. And so the excuse in my community, I will call out my own people, mi gente, as soon as we talk about wills or afterlife planning and making sure that our family are safe, it's like we don't accept that. We don't want to make that next step and address that final layer of insurance. We have car insurance, doesn't mean we're going to crash our cars. We have home insurance, doesn't mean our house is going to blow up. A will is another layer of insurance that we all need to really wrap our minds around and understand the value. We also don't even think about drafting a health proxy, or even when it's too late, we think about a power of attorney. And these are documents that are so important for all of us to know about and think about, and sharing with our families what it is. Having a health proxy at 18, your children, they're adults. And if we have to cover them under our insurance till age 26, we can't fight if they're not married, a parent can't even talk about health information because HIPAA protects their medical information. And as parents, how are we going to address that? How are we going to, and a lot of people don't even think about that. If they have a child that's off to college, you do not have access to their medical information to fight that medical insurance bill, to help through a medical transition. The same thing with a power of attorney. It doesn't mean that you're giving all your rights, but in a second, a concussion would make us unable to act on our own. A minor medical situation will stop us from being able to speak for ourselves. And it's better for us to choose who will take care of our finances, who might be able to represent us. As is my personal suggestion, as an attorney who's practiced in this space, that we should have two power of attorneys, one for financial and one for health and medical, because you might select one person to represent you medically, that another financially. But these are tools to pass on our generational wealth, to take care of ourselves in the event something should happen where we're incapable of speaking for ourselves.
I like that point of the two power of attorneys. I never heard anybody say that medically and financially. Can you explain that a little more?
So, a medical power of attorney is appointing an attorney in fact. So, let's say there is a medical trigger. So, I am unable to speak for myself, and I will share my personal story. I dealt with cancer. When I dealt with cancer, I designated my best friend to be my health proxy, and I gave her my health. I made her my attorney in fact for health matters. It allowed her to make decisions for me. After discussing with them, she would sometimes discuss things, or sometimes she wouldn't even tell me. She's a doctor. I trusted her, and I gave her that opportunity to just care for things. Because personally, I was unable, although capable mentally, emotionally, I wasn't able to care for myself medically. So I
Mm.
knowingly gave that authority to somebody. Doesn't mean I could and rescinded it, because you can rescind a power of attorney, the appointment of attorney in
Mm.
fact. And it was only during my medical care where I felt that it was necessary to have somebody to help me get over and make those decisions for me at times, or assist me in making those decisions. And I made her my attorney in fact. A financial one is appointing somebody to deal with your financial situation, your bank, your bills, your home. And that's why sometimes it might not be the same person. And sometimes there's no need for a financial, like in my personal situation, when I was dealing with cancer, it was just, I'm going to provide that only for this time when I needed it. And then I ended it. And I have them
How
in
do
the
you
event.
prove that? I'm sure there's a process, right? How do you
Yes.
prove when that timeline is when you're ready to kind of take back your decision making abilities?
You have one of two ways of doing it. In my initial in that particular event, I put into that a power of attorney for medical, for health. I put in that during my cancer treatment period, when that ended, there was a clear fact. If you chose to just do a general and then rescind it, you can rescind it. You should rescind it in writing, sending notice to the attorney in fact, which is what the appointed person under the power of attorney, and and then rescinding that and making everyone aware that they've no longer have that right in writing.
That's a good point because, a lot of my friends, as we're getting older, my friends are getting older, our parents are getting older. So some of us are taking care of our parents. Or how do you suggest when is a good time to start, speaking about the beneficiaries and your will to update it and make sure that the right, plan is in place?
Well, I feel that you should look at your will at least annually, because executors die, situations change. And while you are mentally capable and in a right mind, you should have that document clear. Because let's say when you drafted your will, your children were minors. And depending on the language, they may not qualify. When they were minors, they didn't qualify to serve as executors. However, um, if you're looking at it and you're updating, you could say, okay, now my children are adults. You explain to them what the role of being an executor or executrix is, and if they can actually do the job. And then at that point, you might add successors. Keep the same person as your original executor, and then make your children successors to serve as executrix or executors to your will, which would be a codicil. That's how you update a will. You do not update a will by just adding um, language into it in your hand. You have to use what is called a codicil. That is an addendum to the
Mm.
will, or a change. And that is something that a lot of people should avail themselves of if they need to make a change. It's less costly most of the time to do a codicil than to rewrite an entire will. And sometimes
Mm.
your desires might change. And I always tell people the same thing with a trust. A lot of people want and hear about trust. A trust, you should consider, what is my end game, and work backwards. Don't just say, I just want one to have one, because all you're then at that point is buying yourself a $6,000 empty wastebasket, right? And
Mm.
if I tell you, Anthony, let me sell you this
Mm-hmm.
empty
Mm-hmm.
garbage bag, you're going to say, are you crazy? But that is exactly it. If you don't populate it, and if you don't know what you really want it for, it's in a way a waste of money. So you need to really sit
Mm.
down with a financial advisor, an attorney that really practices in estate planning. And for women, it is crucial for women to really get their affairs in order, because we outlive our husbands for the most part. We live
Mm.
longer, and a lot of times we don't know. We want to make sure that the men in our lives have everything in order as well, because if you die intestate, which means without a will, there is a bond requirement if there are children outside the marriage, um, and it's can be a hefty
Wow, it
sum to.
gets complex.
It does get complex, so we want to make sure that, and we don't want every generation to start at zero. And when we leave it up to the government to decide the distribution of our assets, the next
We
generation
don't want to
has
do that.
right. No, we do not. The next generation starts at zero again. And it's an uphill battle once again. So we want to make sure that we get our financial affairs in order, and we get our afterlife, all the documents we need, so that what we leave behind is not a mess,
Right.
but the right steps. And as you know, you deal with credit and financial
It's
situations all
true.
the time, and you're creating
All
a
the time.
burden to your loved ones. And I tell people, don't let your loved ones grieve you twice, losing you physically and then turning around and grieving you again through the legal process, because
It's true.
it 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 destroys families. I see that all the time, people fighting. We had an estate where three siblings physically were fighting outside the courthouse, and mom was left on ice for 3 months, all
Wow.
because of silliness. If you have a will that designates a funeral representative, designates your executor, as well as your digital, make sure that your will gives your executor digital rights to this, because now
Mm.
we all have a digital presence from your, and Apple tends
It's true.
to require that more than a lot of others. But your emails, how will they get access to that? Sometimes we have really important,
It's
even
true.
pictures that matter. And so that is why I've started that initiative. I started the initiative for creating availing or providing free wills for our veterans and our seniors 60 and over. My
Wow.
first year in 2022. We started in August of 2022, and we've continued,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's institutionalized every other month throughout the county. This Friday, we will be in Bloomingdale. April 11th, we will be in Hawthorne. And then after that, we will be in Woodland Park, and then back to Wanacue,
Wow.
and then Clifton and
Yeah.
Wayne in
So, and I like the fact that you are super active. Let me ask you, we're talking today about shifting the paradigm. Why do you find so many individuals don't have a will? Is it just out of mind, out of sight? Is it just lack of education? Why do you think?
I think it's lack of education about the process for a lot of people. And then the other is the emotional, the fear that if I draft a will, I'm going to pass away tomorrow. And to those people, I say, you have car insurance, you have homeowner insurance, you purchase life insurance. The will is another layer of insurance, ensuring that your affairs are in order. The other is lack of education. You have a lot of people that think, well, my child is the only child I have. They will take everything. But that's not how it works in the United States. As a member of the World Jurors Conference, I sat with some of my colleagues that do the same thing in other countries, and they were surprised that in the United States we get involved at the beginning. In other countries,
Mm.
they only get involved if there is some sort of disagreement among family members regarding the inheritance. It's all hands off. So if you come from another country where that is and you have countries that deal with religious structure where it's based on the religious hierarchy. Husband dies, eldest son manages and takes over everything, even if there's a surviving wife. So all of that, you come here and we have this structure where we don't follow religious code, we don't follow this lineage that you're the only heir, so here it goes. We have a process in the United States, and in New Jersey we have one process. You cross over the river, it's a totally different process. And we're fortunate, Lynn, that in
Mm.
New Jersey we are a testament or testator state where we do our best to fulfill the wishes of the testator. We also have the shortest turnaround time. You hear people in the media, oh, probate, avoid probate because it takes years. In New Jersey, it takes roughly a month, and that's
Mm.
if you delay it, right? On average, within a week in most counties, you're in and out unless there is some sort of difficulty or paperwork that is needed. The turnaround is fairly quick.
And so today we're talking about shifting the paradigm. You know, what would you say, surrogate judge, would be your call to action for those that are watching? I know we mentioned that it's like an insurance, but this is not like a monthly fee, typically like an insurance, right? So, what would be your call to action for those that are watching today?
The call to action is make sure that you care for your loved ones by making sure that your affairs are in order. Take that moment to get make sure that you're aware of how your will or will your assets pass. Again, and I failed to mention, I'm sorry to backtrack, we have documents that allow us without a will to transfer our vehicle. And if you go to the
Wow.
Passaic County Surrogate's website, it's there. I could email it to Anthony and um, learn. We need to educate. The call to action is let's get educated on our finances. That's the first step. And then making sure that we protect our loved ones with the right documents, with a health proxy, with the power of attorney, with a living will, also known as the health directive, and our wills. These are crucial for avoiding lengthy litigation for our families and loved ones. And the call to action is accept what you don't know and start learning. We need to educate ourselves about the financial downfalls of not having these important documents, because by the time we need them, it's too late. By the time the dementia diagnosis is there, it is too late to sign that power of attorney. That window has closed. To even sign that will.
You know, and it's like a dangerous conversation just to kind of skate over if you're really not going to be prepared for something like this. You know, I have a couple of friends that work in insurance, and they're always telling me sad stories about, you know, the breadwinner passing on and not having their insurances set up, not having their wills, you know, to kind of at least cover their debts, and it's just it gets really messy, right? Talk to me about who you can help right now in 2025, because we understand most people don't know the difference between a will and a trust. And so, a part of your call to action, who are you looking to help for those that can identify and reach out after watching this live show?
I want to help everyone, which is why I constantly earlier today, right before this podcast, I was doing an information session. I and tomorrow morning at 8:30, I am empowering the parents of special needs children on teaching them how to fill out their own guardianship applications in court. So I want to make sure I anyone who wants me to talk to them, I'm there. Just give my an email to surrogateinfo at PassaiCountyNJ.org. Request a session, and I love to talk to everyone. I talk to church groups. I talk to this earlier today. I spoke to educators, and tomorrow I'm speaking to a group of parents in Passaic City. Education is key. Education gives us power, and I am passionate and with extreme haste, because I'm like, okay, it's an elected position, and if I'm not the person, then at least whoever comes in next. I have institutionalized these will events, these guardianship information sessions to empower parents on how to file their own legal documents. And we need to stay educated. I am open to teach whomever in whatever group on how to do these things to avoid that generational financial gap, to avoid those parents and those people that they lose yesterday, somebody was hit by a vehicle cleaning the snow off their car. I saw on the news in Patterson. That was the father of a family breadwinner, and now you've lost this individual. How are you going to fill that gap? Did they make sure that there was a beneficiary on their life insurance? Did they maintain? Because sometimes people get life insurance, the primary person, or they don't put a contingent beneficiary, or even on their pension or 401ks or 403bs. Did you list a person? And if you're afraid of that will, at least designate a pay on death beneficiary on your banking and checking. And if you have, and make sure that you do have a designated person for, and get a health proxy. Please get a health proxy. It's free on my website. Just go and fill it out for your kids as well.
I like free. I think everyone else likes free too.
Free's for me.
But it's not all free, right? I mean, you can't do it always for free, right? You know, you want to get free service. It's not always the best.
Right. You get
Talking
what you
about free service. Is it true that you can kind of send, and don't laugh at me. Can you send yourself a handwritten will and not open it? And if it's stamped through the post office, is that a ghetto will? Can you, does anybody know? Please, if you're watching, have you ever heard of a ghetto will? Surrogate judge, can you tell me if that's a thing? Is that true? A ghetto will?
Yeah, that is a ghetto will, correct. Well, you're fortunate that in the state of New Jersey, we do recognize what is called a holographic will. However, because most people do not write letters anymore, it's really difficult to find an example of your handwriting. So you don't need to mail that to yourself, but that piece is not necessary in New Jersey. But if you write in your hand, it has to be in your hand from beginning to end. This is my last will and all the required things. That does not even have to be witnessed. However, we don't have samples and people don't write letters. So it's going to have your family end up in court. And so do not do the fill in the blank wills that certain people in the media offer under PBS. That is not valid in the state of New Jersey, fill in the blank wills. So don't do it. You're going to have to go to court to validate that. Your family will have to go to court to validate that, but you do not mail yourself a will. And that is
okay.
Truly,
Now I know.
but you can.
I'll call you if anything.
In the state of New Jersey, you can write your own will in your hand. But it has to be from beginning to end. But however, you will end up in court most likely because nobody writes letters anymore. So I cannot compare. And we need to then take proof of evidence to make sure that that document was really written by you. And that's caution is that as we get older, our signature and our handwriting changes. So if you wrote this now and somebody's trying to present it 20, 30, 40 years from now, it's going to be an issue because the only samples of your writing will most likely be in a different handwriting that we won't be able to compare. So although it recognizes the state of New Jersey, understand that there might be a possible ability of a challenge or definitely a court process.
So it's a very important conversation that we're having, and I'm so excited to put a shameless plug. We have our event, Rise and Thrive, March 27th, where you're going to be speaking as one of our panelists. And talk to us a little bit about the event. What should we look forward to for those that are attending?
Well, I'm excited to be a part of the panel because we have amazing panelists, and some of them we've already heard from on this show. Dr. Brault, myself, Roxy, and
Mhm.
so what you're going to hear is a little bit of everything that we've kind of discussed now, but it's taking it to the next level. We need to make sure that we have knowledge of all the different avenues, what the resources are. We're going to get into deeper discussion of the various resources that we can avail ourselves from, and the opportunity to actually be present, have that Q&A and that direct contact with people, which is key. We need to make sure that we find all the different resources. And I know that from scholarships to even discussing how to deal once you've gotten through the college process, how do you deal? College is different than high school. Keeping your head in the books and just learning and getting those straight A's is going to be different. I'm going to talk about transitioning from academia to other levels, as well as financial stability and making sure your life is in order at that level. But it is really, and the fact that it is women, empowering women, Women's History Month,
Absolutely.
it's exciting. I'm really excited, and I am excited to learn more because of the panelists that I'm going to be sharing the days with.
I'm extremely excited. With Rocky, I learned about toxic shock syndrome. And, not to get too personal, but with my spouse, I'm like, hey, babe, make sure, we don't want no issues, and this is a conversation that we all have to have. It's a taboo conversation. I do want to highlight, we have Wendy Guzman. I recommend residents to take advantage of the Make a Will events that the surrogate offers all throughout the county of Passaic. Thank you, Wendy.
It is definitely something that is a great event,
Sorry
and
about
I'm
that.
hoping.
So we want to say thank you for Wendy for coming on and sharing that with us. So right now we're going to be going into the time of the show where we go into our final thoughts. Okay, final thoughts is a part of the segment where we kind of want to wrap up what some of your thoughts are and going into this conversation, shifting the paradigm. What are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is, well, first I want to thank you, Anthony, for giving me this opportunity and a forum where I can stress the importance of wills and the important documents that we need. My final thought is, first, and then on top of that, I want to thank the residents of Passaic County for giving me this opportunity to be their surrogate. And I kept my promise. And we need to take care of ourselves. My final thought: the pandemic taught us how precious life is, and in an instant, our lives can really change. And this is my calling, and what happened after the pandemic, and how I wanted to take the next step to make a change. And I want people to don't complain, take action.
Mm,
Don't just let life happen to you. Live life and create your opportunities and open your own doors, or make the change that you see and that needs to be done. And that's one of the things that I chose to do, leaving a job that paid me more, a pension as well, because it was a calling. It was truly my calling. And I had spoken to Anthony. I told you what happened. I prayed. I was stressing out over trying to help people during the pandemic. I put my head down and I prayed to God, how can I help my people, right? All people. And the following Tuesday, I got the call that said, "Are you interested in doing this?" And I said, "Sure, God." This was my calling. Listen to God's calling. I'm a person of faith. Listen to God's calling and make a difference.
Listen to God's calling, make a difference. What is your conviction for those that are watching? I see everybody going crazy in the chat. Shout out to Angelina, Tiffany Jacobs, Liz Rodriguez. I can't wait to see you all at the event. Shout out to Dr. Barat and Rocky who are watching us right now. What is your conviction? How are you standing in the gap? How are you going to leave your community better after we leave? I think that these are the conversations that we need to be having, these taboo conversations, so that we can stand in the gap for the next generation. Because if we don't do it, who will? And so for those that are watching, we always like to end with the quote of the show. This quote is brought to you by Stephen Covey. Effective people are not problem-minded. They're opportunity-minded. They feed opportunities and starve problems. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This is Anthony Rosa. Thank you so much, Surrogate Judge Casanova, for coming on and just sharing with us all your information, all that you do. Don't forget, March 27th, Rise and Thrive. Go in grace, go in peace. I'll see you soon.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.